The CEO caught her daughter studying with the janitor, but what she discovered changed everything. It started with a sound that didn't belong in a place like that, soft laughter echoing through the marble halls of Marshall Enterprises long after everyone had gone home. Elena Marshall, the company's CEO, paused mid-step. It was nearly 10 o'clock at night, and her building was supposed to be empty except for the janitorial staff. Her polished heels clicked sharply as she followed the sound, her mind already irritated. But when she reached the small break room and looked through the glass door, her irritation melted into confusion. There, sitting cross-legged on the floor, was her 12-year-old daughter Sophie, surrounded by notebooks and pencils. Beside her sat Daniel, the janitor, holding a flashlight to help her read. The two were laughing together, completely unaware that they were being watched. Elena pushed the door open, and the laughter stopped instantly. Sophie looked up, startled, and Daniel stood quickly, his eyes lowered out of respect. "Sophie," Elena said sharply, "what is going on here?" The girl's small hands trembled as she tried to explain, "Mom, please don't be mad. I was just doing my homework, and Daniel was helping me." Elena frowned deeply, the words catching her off guard. "Helping you?" she asked. "He's the janitor, Sophie. Why are you studying with him?" Sophie looked down, whispering, "Because he's really good at math, Mom. He helps me understand things my tutor can't." Daniel opened his mouth to speak but hesitated. Finally, he said quietly, "I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to cause trouble. She asked a question, and I just wanted to help." Elena's voice was cold. "You're paid to clean floors, not to play teacher. This is completely inappropriate." The silence that followed felt heavy. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. "Mom, that's not fair," she said softly. "He's really smart. He used to be a teacher before." Elena turned toward Daniel. "Is that true?" He hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, ma'am. I taught high school mathematics for almost 10 years. She looked surprised. "Then why are you working here as a janitor?" His expression didn't change, but his voice grew quieter. "My wife got sick. Cancer. I had to take care of her, and I couldn't keep up with my job. After she passed away, I needed to start over. This was the first job I could find." For a moment, no one spoke. The fluorescent light above them flickered faintly. Elena felt her anger slipping away, replaced by something she couldn't name, shame, maybe, or guilt. Sophie whispered, "I asked him not to tell anyone. He didn't want to get in trouble." Daniel looked at Elena respectfully. "I'll finish cleaning and leave, ma'am. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding." But as he turned to leave, Elena found herself saying, "Wait." He stopped, uncertain. She took a slow breath. "I was wrong to raise my voice. I didn't know." Daniel nodded silently, and Sophie reached for her mother's hand. "He's really nice, Mom. Please don't be mad at him." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She sat by her window, looking out at the city lights, thinking about the look in Daniel's eyes. There had been no resentment, no bitterness, only quiet dignity. She thought of her daughter's laughter in that break room, of how happy she'd sounded. It had been a long time since Sophie had laughed like that. The next morning, Elena arrived at work earlier than usual. Daniel was there, mopping the lobby. He looked surprised when she approached. "Good morning, ma'am," he said, standing straight. "Good morning," she replied, her tone softer than before. "Can we talk for a moment?" He nodded, uneasy. She gestured for him to sit down on a nearby bench, something he clearly wasn't comfortable doing in front of his boss. "I've been thinking about what you said last night," she began. "About being a teacher." He nodded carefully. "That was a long time ago," he said. "Doesn't mean it has to stay that way," she replied. "We're starting a community program soon, a free education initiative for employees' families. I'd like you to help lead it. Daniel blinked, clearly stunned. Ma'am, I don't think I'm qualified anymore, he said humbly. Elena smiled faintly. You're more qualified than anyone I know. And besides, I think Sophie could use a good mentor. His eyes filled with tears, and he lowered his head. Thank you, ma'am, he said softly. You don't know what this means to me. Elena looked at him for a long moment before replying, actually, I think I do. Weeks passed. The company's new evening education program was a success. Daniel taught math and problem-solving to employees and their children after hours. Sophie was his most enthusiastic student, always sitting in the front row, her hand raised before he even finished his questions. Elena would often stop by quietly to watch from the hallway. There was something beautiful about it, the janitor who once swept floors now writing equations on whiteboards, and her daughter smiling again, learning not just from books but from compassion itself. It humbled her in ways she never expected. As time went on, the office began to feel different too. Employees who had once been afraid of Elena now smiled when they saw her. She had changed, not in title or authority, but in heart. One afternoon, she gathered her entire company in the main auditorium for a meeting. When she stepped up to the podium, her voice was calm but strong. For years, she said, I believed success meant power and perfection. But recently, I learned that real success comes from how we treat each other. Her eyes searched the crowd until she found Daniel sitting in the third row, beside Sophie. A few months ago, she continued, I caught my daughter studying with someone I thought had nothing to teach her. I was wrong. He taught me more about life, humility, and purpose than I ever learned in business school. The room was silent. Even the most stoic employees leaned forward, listening. So starting today, Elena said, her voice trembling slightly, Marshall Enterprises will fund scholarships for employees and their families who want to continue their education. Because talent and brilliance don't depend on status, they just need opportunity. Applause erupted, echoing through the hall. Daniel wiped his eyes discreetly, while Sophie clapped the loudest. For the first time, Elena didn't feel like a boss giving a speech. She felt like a human being who had finally understood what leadership really meant. After the meeting, Daniel approached her. Ma'am, he said, I can't thank you enough. You gave me my life back. She smiled warmly. You gave me something too, she replied. Perspective. As the months passed, Daniel's classes grew. Some nights, employees brought their children. Other nights, janitors and receptionists studied together, learning side by side. The office had become more than a workplace, it had become a community. One evening, as the sunset bathed the city in soft orange light, Elena was locking up when she saw Daniel again, cleaning the same hallway where it had all started. Funny, isn't it? She said, stopping beside him. If I hadn't walked in that night, none of this would have happened. Daniel chuckled quietly. Life has a way of teaching lessons when we least expect them, he said. Sophie ran up the hall then, her backpack bouncing against her shoulders. Mom! Mr. Daniel. Guess what, I got an A in math, she said proudly, waving her report card. Elena hugged her tightly. I'm so proud of you, sweetheart, she said. Sophie smiled. I told you Daniel's the best teacher ever. Elena looked at him and nodded. Yes, she said softly, he truly is. Later that night, as Elena tucked Sophie into bed, her daughter asked, Mom, do you think everyone has something special inside them, even if they don't look rich or important? Elena smiled. Yes, honey, she said. Sometimes the people we overlook have the brightest light of all. Sophie grinned sleepily. That's what Daniel said. Elena turned off the light and whispered, he's a wise man. In the months that followed, the story of the CEO and the janitor spread quietly through the company, inspiring others to look beyond appearances. Employees started helping one another, sharing skills, offering rides, even tutoring each other's children. The cold, polished building began to feel alive with warmth. Elena realized that success was never meant to stand alone at the top, it was meant to lift others up with you. And all it took was one unexpected friendship, one moment of humility, to make her see the world differently. The night she had stormed into that break room, she thought she was catching someone breaking a rule. In reality, she was witnessing kindness in its purest form, her daughter's curiosity and a man's quiet generosity. It changed everything. From that day on, Elena made sure she was home every evening to help Sophie with her homework. Sometimes Daniel joined them on weekends, bringing puzzles and math games. Their laughter filled the house the same way it had filled that empty office months ago. Years later, when Sophie graduated from college, she stood at the podium and thanked two people, her mother, who had learned to listen, and the janitor who taught her that greatness has nothing to do with titles. Elena sat in the audience, tears streaming down her face, proud not of her daughter's grades, but of her heart. She knew then that what she had discovered in that quiet break room wasn't just a lesson, it was a miracle in disguise. If you believe that kindness can change the world, don't forget to like this story and subscribe to Kindness Stories for more heart-touching tales that remind us that compassion, not status, is what truly makes us rich. Sometimes, the smallest act of help can start the biggest change. And sometimes, the people who seem invisible are the ones who shine the brightest when someone finally takes the time to see them.